Hey everyone, ACEofclay here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another sculpting video. If you're new here, I'm a sculptor and every week I make a new sculpture. Today we're jumping back into the world of Trevor Henderson and creating Long Horse. And if you didn't know, Trevor Henderson is also the creator of Siren Head. I sculpted him a couple months ago, so if you want to check out that video after this one, I wouldn't be mad. And then of course, if you are not familiar with Long Horse, it is a creature with a horse skull for a head with no bottom jaw. Its pale neck made of pliable skin appears to be infinitely long with some pieces of a black mane hanging all over. It also creates cracking noises when bending its neck, which bends like a finger, allowing it to create as few or as many joints as it wants. Its neck doesn't have to connect in linear space due to its properties. And then believe it or not, Long Horse is actually a good guy. Its main goal is to protect humanity from future harmful events. And I will be sure to tell you more about this guy once we get into the video. So without further ado, if you want to see me bring him to life, then hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at aceofclay. Let's get started. Alright, for the first step, I drilled a hole into this wooden plaque the size of this bamboo skewer, and I'm going to insert the skewer like so and then trim it to size. This is going to be the base for Long Horse. Now I'm just taking some 12 gauge aluminum wire and twisting it around the skewer to start the rest of the armature. And as always, all of the materials and tools that I use in this video are listed in the description box below, along with my affiliate links if you want to purchase anything. And now I'm just going to bend the wire to create those crazy neck joints that I mentioned in the intro. I'm using some pliers to help me out here, and then I'm just going to get it to a point that I like. At first, I'm going to build this sort of up in the air more, and then once he's completely done, I'm going to reposition it to be a little lower down. I think putting it up in the air will make it a little easier for me to work on. Now I'm going to roll out a snake of clay and start covering the armature, but first, before I do that, that first joint just looks like a crack waiting to happen later on, so I'm going to take some floral wire and secure it first before I add my clay. I want this to be very, very strong. And now I'm going to take my snake of clay and start covering the armature. The clay that I'm using for this project is Super Sculpey Original. And I'm just pressing on my snakes of clay to get everything nice and covered. And if you're having trouble with your clay sticking to your aluminum wire, you can always wrap a smaller gauge wire around your main wire to act as an anchor for the clay, kind of like how I did after that first joint there. So you can do that for the entire thing. I didn't feel the need to, but you can always do that if you want. And then for an added detail, once the entire thing is covered and relatively smooth, I'm going to take this dotting tool from Sculpey and sort of roll it into each of the joints to create a sort of skeletal looking knuckle. And now for the next step, I'm going to make sure everything is nice and smooth and then go over everything with my Explorer tool to create some nice vertical wrinkles everywhere. Give them a nice creepy texture. Now for the next step, to create another element of design to this thing, the first picture that I saw of this guy, he is coming out of this sort of well in the ground, so we're going to go ahead and create that. I'm going to create the walls with some cardboard, just cutting it to size like so, and then I'm going to wrap them in a nice even sheet of clay. This clay was flattened through my pasta maker on the thickest setting, and I'm just going to cut out the size that I need and then fold it over and connect the sides. And then of course trim everything correctly and then do this 3 more times to create every side. And then once they're all done, you can kind of see that there's one completely flat side and one sort of beveled side. The beveled side is going to go inward and the flat side is going to be the outside. So it fits nice like this. There you go. So then once I've got all the sides created, I'm going to take this little spatula tool and create a nice brick texture. And then while I'm doing that, let's talk a little bit more about Longhorse. Let's talk about his abilities, okay? So Longhorse is able to foretell disasters and teleport, and he uses these abilities to warn others, just like I mentioned earlier. He's able to break physics due to the infinite nature of his neck, and he can defy gravity and seemingly levitate. He can contort his body and adjust the number of joints in his neck, and the neck doesn't have to connect in linear space. Longhorse can enter people's dreams, and Trevor once mentioned that if someone were to stare at Longhorse's neck for a while without looking away, it would eventually crumble into dust, which would most likely not affect Longhorse due to its paranormal nature, and he can also give off the smell of cinnamon. And now it's time to start assembling that wall or well thing. I'm going ahead and blending the edges together like so, of course adding a little bit of Bacon Bond even though I didn't show that, and we're just fixing the areas that were blended with the spatula tool, of course, and a couple touch-ups with the toothbrush, and then let's get this thing closed. And now for the last step before I bake this guy, I'm going to get him into his final position. I want him to be a little closer to the ground and a little more tangly looking. That's looking pretty good. Let's bake it. And once it's baked and completely cooled down, it's looking pretty good. Nothing broke. And we're going to go ahead and start the skull. Once I get that to a size that I like, I'm going to cover everything in clay and then start shaping out the different features. And when you're making a skull, you're not really adding clay to it, you're just making the general shape and you are pressing out the negative space in the skull. So you're really not going to add any clay, you're just going to be either taking away or creating indents. And you'll see what I mean as I continue. And after shaping out the front teeth area and some of the indents, we're going to start pressing out the eye sockets with a small ball stylus. And now we're going to press out that nose area. I'm just inserting the ball stylus like so, and then shaping it out how I like. And the only piece of clay that I add to this thing is the little piece that goes over the top, that little pointy piece that sticks out. And we're just going to blend that in and then keep going. Now it's time for my favorite part. I'm going to press out the details for the teeth with my Explorer tool. I'm just going to press in each tooth like so, and then get it to a point that I like. Alright, now as I continue to complete the skull, let's talk a little bit more about Longhorse. Let's go into its personality. Now, not much is known about Longhorse's personality. However, as mentioned before, it is known that he cares about humans, serving as their protector and warning them of disasters. He is also known to be somewhat curious, but exactly how he displays his curiosity is currently unknown. According to small quips made by Trevor, Longhorse enjoys, but most likely does not require, offerings such as apples and affection. And once that skull is looking pretty good, it's time to attach it with some bacon bond. And once that's on and ready to go, we're going to brush the entire surface with clay softener to remove fingerprints and get him ready for his final bake. And once he's baked and completely cooled down, it's time for paint. All the paints that I use in this video are Folk Art brand matte acrylics. Going in with some Dove Gray, we're going to paint this over the entire surface. Create a nice sort of primer coat and base color. And once that base coat is completely dry, I'm going to go in and dry brush some taffy over the entire surface as well. And then we're going to go in with a fine paint brush and paint some of the black recessed details like the eye sockets and nose area. Now for the fun part, to really bring out all of the details in this guy, I'm going to use some watered down black or a wash and brush this over the entire surface and rub off the excess with my fingertips or a paper towel. This will allow the paint to sink into all of the nooks and crannies and really make the details stand out. Now for the final step, I'm going to dry brush some titanium white all over the surface to really bring out the details even more. And I really like how the paint job came out on this guy. Now it's time to paint that well. We're going to take some very dark brown as our base coat and go over the entire surface and the inside, trying to avoid all of the white areas that are already painted. And why I made the well square, I don't know, but maybe this could also be a chimney if you wanted it to. I don't know. Anyway, it looks cool to me, and I apologize to anyone that I've offended by not making the well round. And then of course, after dry brushing the brick with some lighter brown to bring out the detail, I am painting the base black. Now for the final step, to really bring this guy to life, I'm going to add some hair. This is some black synthetic wool, and I'm going to attach it with some Fabri-Tac. Add the Fabri-Tac first, of course, then lay on the hairs. Gotta create that nice, scraggly, creepy mane. And once all the hairs are looking pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and thin them out a little bit with my fingertips by pulling out excess hair and cutting upwards into the hair with some scissors. This is going to maximize our scraggly factor. And it's done! Long Horse, my second Trevor Henderson creation, is complete. Let me know how you think I did in the comments, and also let me know what you want me to make next. And that's a wrap. I really hope you like my little version of long horse. I think it came out pretty cool. Just like with Siren Head, I've really grown to kind of like this character quite a lot. I think he is super creepy. I love that I added the rail hair, and I just love this guy. Like, I could just picture how he moves. I can hear him cracking as he like navigates to wherever he's going, and I just think he's really cool. So let me know what you think in the comments, and if you like how my version came out. And as always, thank you so much for watching and being here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and then follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at aceofclay. I'm also on TikTok, so check me out there, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.